Hello everyone, my name is Nuria and this is my sewing journey. And for today's video, I want to teach you how to start sewing once and for all. So let's get started. In this video, I'm going to talk about the materials and tools you need. Then I'm going to go through the words you need to know to start in this business. Then we're going to move into how to start. And finally, I'm going to tell you all my frustrations so you know that you're not alone. Let's start with the materials. What are you going to need? First of all, you're going to need measuring tape. Then you're gonna need some pins. I'm not a fan of those clips that everyone uses. I think those are more for thicker fabrics, but not when you're starting. The longer the pins you use, the easier it is to work, at least for me. Then you're going to need something to mark your fabric. It can be a pen or chalk. I personally prefer the heat pens before the water ones because I'm anxious and I want to wear the things straight away. And if I have to wash them before wearing them, I don't do it and I go with all the marks. Then you're going to need some thread and hand sewing needles. Most people skip this step, but I think it's needed if you want nice finishes by hand. Then you're going to need a seam ripper. You're going to hate this tool, but I use it in every single project and it's used to undo the seams when you make mistakes or you want to upcycle something. I also use a lot my little snippets. This might be unnecessary for some people, but I think it's also one of the things I use the most, and I use them to cut the little threads. Next, you're going to need some scissors. I prefer scissors than the rotary cutter because the rotary cutter you're going to need also a cutting mat, and I think that one is more useful when you're cutting silk or elastic fabrics or viscoses or things that are always moving. But for normal fabric, I use normal scissors, and I like to have two scissors, one for fabric and one for paper. Then you're also going to need a lot of bobbins and machine needles. It's always useful to have more than one. There are a lot of types of machine needles. When you're starting, I would only buy the universal ones, and later on you're going to understand what the other ones are used for. Another thing you might need are rulers. These are not completely necessary, but if you want to draft your patterns, for example, they are very nice to have. Then something really useful is having a cushion, one of those that you put on your wrist. I actually think it's nicer if you buy the magnetic one, because then if the pins fall all over the place, you can just, you can just fetch them with your little magnetic thing. And finally, and of course, what you're going to need is a sewing machine. It doesn't really matter, in my opinion, which one you use. I've seen a lot of people use the Singer Heavy Duty. I started with a really cheap one that I bought in the mall, and it worked for like 5 years until I bought a proper one. Be mindful of what your learning curves are. If you want to achieve a lot in the next years, then maybe spend a little bit more money. There are other machines like an overlock, which you don't need for the moment, but it's good to know that they exist. These are tools that you're also going to see now and then, but they are not extremely necessary. It's just nice to have. Now that we know the materials, let's move into the dictionary. If we move into fabric-related words, we're gonna see some things like woven, non-woven, knits. This is the fabric classification. It tells us how the fabric threads are linked to each other. And for example, if it's a woven fabric, you will have horizontal and vertical threads interlaced. If it's a knit, you'll have the threads interlooped. And if you have non-woven fabrics, you will have fibers entangled together. Some other things you're going to be hearing is the right side versus the wrong side of the fabric. The right side is where you normally have the pattern, if there's any. And sometimes it's really difficult to know which is which. Another word you have is selvage, and this is the tightly woven edge of your fabric. And finally, you're going to have the bias, the grain line, and the cross grain. These refer to the fabric directions. The grain line follows the selvage of the fabric and it has the strongest threads. The cross line is perpendicular to the grain line and the bias is 4 to 5 degrees. The bias of the fabric is the one with the most stretch, and you'll sometimes hear the term bias tape, which is used to hide seams, and it's cut on the bias direction. If we look into sewing machine related words, we're going to see the presser foot. This is what holds the fabric as you sew, and there are multiple presser foot types like the button or the buttonhole or many more. And for now, I would just focus on the basic one. Another thing you're going to hear a lot of people saying is the overlock. This is a whole other machine, and this machine is to finish the edges, or if you're working with elastic fabric, this is very useful also. You normally finish the edges if they fray a lot, or if you want to add some nice finishes. If we move into pattern related words, we're going to see darts. Darts are our way of creating 3D shapes, so that means that they add volume into your garment. You're also going to see cut in the fold. That means that you have to fold your fabric and cut into the fold. I think it's pretty straightforward. And finally, you have notches, which are little marks that you have to know what pattern pieces go together and where do they have to be attached. So it's just to make sure that you're sewing them together properly. And finally, we move into sewing wards. First one is back stitching. This is the first stitch you do to secure your thread. And all machines have this option, but you can also opt to make a knot instead of this back stitch. Then you have zippers. There are a lot of different types, but what I use mostly is either normal zippers that is for pouches that you don't mind that they are seen, or invisible zippers that you want them to be almost invisible in your garment. Then we have the seam and the seam allowances. This is the extra length added to the pattern to be able to sew it. And there are a lot of different seams which need different seam allowances. And I don't want to go through all of them, but it's basically plain seams, which is the normal one. Then you have French seams, flat felt seams. You will hear a lot of those, but for now, just focus on the plain seam. And make sure to read in your pattern how much is included, because otherwise your garment is going to change a lot. From 1 centimeter to 1.5 centimeter, it changes so much. Then we have the hem, which is basically another type of seam, but it's normally at the bottom of your garment. And the seam allowance here is normally bigger. You also have something called interfacing. This is an extra layer to add structure to your fabric. There are different levels of sturdiness and they can be sewn or ironed, which I of course prefer. Then you have batting, which is also an extra layer of fabric to add fullness, and it's for example for pouches. And finally, you have the lining, which is an extra layer of fabric that goes between the garment and your body, and it's used to cover yourself if the fabric is too see-through, or if the outer fabric is not nice to the touch, then you can just use it as an in-between layer. I think I'm giving you a lot of knowledge, so let's get into how I would start. First thing is the patterns. Are you going to buy a pattern? Are you going to trace some clothes to use as a pattern? Are you going to draft it, or are you going to drape it? Buying patterns is a really easy thing to do. I personally find it really frustrating because we all have different bodies, but it works for most people. So try it and see how it goes for you. Second one is tracing your own clothes. Everyone can do that. You can do it two ways. Either if your piece of clothing is really old, you can undo it and see how it was sewn together, and you can see the steps they took to finish it. Or if you just want to get a piece of clothing, I would always start with something baggy like a t-shirt. Just trace around, and it doesn't matter if it's 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters off, because it's still going to fit you. Or trousers, for example, if you have to add an elastic, it's also going to fit you. So I would start with that. The third one is drafting. Of course, this is my favorite one, but because I like maths. I think if you don't like maths, this can be as frustrating as sewing, or even more. But the good thing is that once you have your basic top patterns and you know how to modify them, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to rely on any patterns other people are making or on clothes that you already bought. So for me, it's worth the pain. I don't know about you. And then finally, draping. A lot of people prefer draping before drafting patterns, and this is because it's way easier to understand, because you can see the shapes of the body. The only problem is that then you need to buy a mannequin, and also you need to know how to modify the mannequin measurements to your measurements. So it's also a whole new learning experience. So you choose your battle and you fight it till the end and see which one sticks with you. Now we look into the fabric. What fabric you're going to use, of course, will depend on what pattern you're going to be doing. I would recommend that you start with a sturdy fabric like cotton 100%, because if we look into what fabrics are there, you have some slippery fabric like viscose or silk or satin or these kind of things. They are a pain in the to sew, because you look at them and they just move, because they are difficult to cut, they are difficult to hold together, it's just so complicated and so frustrating. So I would not start there, no. Then you have fabrics with elasticity, which are also kind of difficult to sew. When we don't know how to sew, we tend to pull the top fabric to make sure that it fits where we want it, and then that's going to create weird shape, and I would not start there either. Also because the stitch you need to use for elastic fabric is different than the one you have to use for normal fabrics. Fabrics with a lot of body are also difficult. They look fine when you have only 2 layers, but when you have 4 layers, good luck to your sewing machine and good luck to your needle, because you're going to break all of them. And if you have a bad sewing machine or a starting sewing machine, it's going to be even more frustrating. So try and see how your machine works and what it can handle, and you start with cotton and then you move into denim and then you move into wool. You test it yourself. The next step is threading the machine. There are a couple of things we need to take into account here. I would say it's fairly complicated to understand what type of stitch you need or what length of stitch or what the tension of your machine should be from the beginning. What I would say is start with cotton and see how it works and see if your stitches are good enough, if your fabric is too tight or if the stitches are breaking, and then you try and change a little bit the tension. And then what does that do? I would experiment a little bit. To this day I still struggle with this, and I started sewing 10 years ago. So be patient and learn as you go. There's no pressure to learn everything the first day. Now let me show you how to thread your machine. Sewing machines are all different, but they all have similarities. Step number one is going to be threading your bobbin. There is normally a little thing on top of the machine where you can put your bobbin on, and it has some instructions on how the thread has to go to the bobbin. Once you have it threaded, you give it a gentle push and press the pedal, and this will automatically thread the bobbin. Step number two is to thread the needle. Your machine should have the path you have to follow, but it's normally done how I'm showing you on screen. Make sure your needle is in the top position when you do this. Step number three is to put the bobbin in its place. The placement of this one changes depending on which machine you're using, so follow your sewing machine instructions, and once it's into place, do a full cycle with the needle using the side wheel so the thread from the bobbin comes out through the little hole. And again, always make sure the needle is on the highest position before sewing and that there's enough thread excess, as the machine tends to pull on the top thread before starting. And now put your fabric below the presser foot, bring this one down, and you're ready to start. And now the last thing you have to do is just start and increase the difficulty as you go. I'm going to give you some advice, but it's really important that you know that I do not follow my own advice. I think the easiest way to learn is to start from the easiest thing and then increase in difficulty. The first thing I would do is grab a scrap of fabric and just try a straight line. From that line, I would add one that is 1 centimeter apart. After that, I would add another one that is 0.5 centimeters apart. After that, I would add another one that is 0.1 centimeters apart. And I continue doing that until I understand how that works. Once you've done that and you're a bit more confident, I would get a project that is the easiest thing you can do, like a pillowcase or a bookcase or something like that that doesn't have zippers or anything, and get familiar with attaching right sides together, turning them around, adding a lining. Once you feel a little bit more spicy, I would already start with some clothing, because I think it's important that you can wear something and you don't spend the rest of your life making pouches. So just grab a pair of pajama short pants and trace them and just sew them together. Add an elastic and see how this elastic works, get familiar with it again, and feel confident. If you want to do zippers, if you want to add a buttonhole, if you want to add ruffles to a piece you already own, working with elastics, working with elastic fabrics, and then you're going to build up all these new techniques, and one day you're going to realize, oh my god, I'm so good at this. How did I get here? Because you follow Nuria's advice. And from there we get into the frustrations part of the video, so you know you're not alone. Because to this day I get so frustrated in so many ways that I want you to understand that it's okay and that you have to continue, and that maybe you make it wrong 3 times, but then the 4th time you're never going to make it wrong again. Or maybe you are. It's a very frustrating hobby, but it's really rewarding, so please continue. The first thing that really frustrates me is the battle between inches and centimeters. The sewing community is all over the world, and sometimes you buy a pattern that is in inches and then it says that the seam allowance is ½ an inch. In my machine, for example, I only have 1 centimeter or 1.5 centimeters, so I just have to... What I've done is that I have this measuring tape that on one side is centimeters and on the other one is inches, so I can compare them. The next frustration point is buttonholes. This is the enemy number 1. I don't understand what the hell is wrong with the sewing machine. It works perfectly, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to do a buttonhole, and no, it stops working. And I never understand why. But I have to admit that most of my pants do not have a buttonhole, and I wear them with a needle. The next one, and I said it before, is slippery fabrics. It's kind of like you look at them and they are already moving. I've just accepted that if I'm going to use a viscose fabric, the dress is going to look gorgeous, but if you look inside, it still needs some work. The next one is sewing a zipper. I have to say that the frustration from beginner Nuria was much higher than now Nuria, and this is because I've sewn so many zippers that now I understand how it's done. The problem is that if you sew a zipper in a fabric that has the smallest bit of elasticity, your zipper is going to be... So what you have to do is interface. You interface both sides where the zipper is going to be, and that's it. The next one is sewing gathers. This was the first time I ever cried sewing, because they're really easy to make, but they're really difficult to distribute, and I could not figure out how to do it. I divide my fabric into 1,000 pieces, so I know that this little piece goes here and this little piece goes here, and now it works better, but it's so time consuming, I don't like it. Then we have sewing curves. You have a curve that goes like this, the opposite piece is going to be the opposite, you know, and then when you put them together, it just... Notches are the solution, so add as many notches as you can and your life will be better. Then we have sewing small straps. This is the devil number 2. They are so easy to make because you just put right sides together, done. But then when you have to flip them, good luck. Sometimes I think, okay, I'm almost done with my project, and then it takes me, sometimes it has taken me 2 hours more just because of this. Nothing works for me. Nothing. And finally, the one I hate the most, sleeves. Because you have 2 of my least favorite things. You have a curve and gathers, because I don't know if you know, but sleeves have a little bit of ease on the cup and it's to add roundness. Just know that we're going to be frustrated together. Maybe at the beginning you're going to be frustrated with a zipper, and then at the end you're going to be frustrated with God knows what, because there are so many techniques. So get on board, start sewing, start experimenting, because this community is actually amazing and we're waiting for you. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I had a little bit of an influence on you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!